Welcome to the 5. Today, Tyler flying solo because at an actual business we have more things to do. Ben, who's normally right here, he is going to have a baby born sometime today, so he's out. Josh had an appendicitis, so he's out. And Kelly, his mom, is helping him out, keeping him comfortable. So we are down to half capacity of the normal business. So it ends up with me doing everything. Flying solo will probably be shorter, probably not as good, just me. But it is what it is. So, the 5 things for today on today's TFT Supplies, the 5. Man with 94 children dies. California finally reopens. Number 3, lost my sheet here. Medical debt charity is to buy and wipe out $278 million of patients' hospital bills. Wannabe Spice Girls hit, 25 years old. Makes you feel old for that, huh? And last but not least, Kevin Hart on cancel culture. So, first item, 94 children. NBC News, a man thought to be the head of the world's largest family. Get this, 34 wives and 94 children. First thing comes to mind, 1, money and exhausting. Those things come to mind. So this guy, Ziona Chana, the head of the local Christian sect that allows polygamy, died on Sunday, and that was in northeast India. So this gentleman had 39 wives and 94 children, thought to be the largest world's family. He lived in India, a 4-story structure with 100 rooms. How does he pay for all this stuff? Is anything useful in here? Let's see. Doesn't really say a whole lot about how he managed to pay for all this stuff, but it said it became a bit of a tourist attraction. How could it not? Anybody with 94 children would be somewhat notable. This talks about India. While illegal, it is still practiced in some communities in India. You see those things like it's on TLC right now, right? The sister wives. It's interesting, I suppose, as a culture. One of those things is interesting to watch, not for me to partake in, but interesting to watch. It seems like, how is jealousy not a tremendous problem? Whenever I think about these plural marriages and you have multiple wives, I always feel like jealousy would be the biggest problem you have in those kind of relationships. That's from an outsider. I don't know what it's like in those things, but how is jealousy not an issue? And 94 children, also from the practical standpoint, how present is this guy in his children's lives if he has 94 kids? You just can't be around that much for your kids on an individual basis if you have 94 children. Let's see what else. Number 2, California finally reopens. They were the first of the states to go on lockdown about a year ago, a little over a year ago, when Corona got crazy. But Tuesday, which is today, California has lifted most of its restrictions, which will be ending capacity limits, physical distancing, and mask requirements, mostly for those that are vaccinated. It's an interesting lesson, really, because they were one of the first to shut down, like Florida, being Florida, right? Just talked about it the other day. They never really shut down. And you look at the per capita deaths were not that different, pretty much open versus pretty much shut down. And who knows it actually leads to what, but it is agreeing that the more vaccines that get out and get deployed obviously have an impact on all these horrendous deaths. Let's see. Grand reopening, about 72% adults and 59% of all residents. Let's see. California has the 3rd lowest 7-day death rate per capita and 7th lowest 7-day infection rate per capita. Let's see. Governor Gavin Newsom says they effectively want to end the mask mandate next month when it opens, but they've been following CDC guidelines. But California is approaching being open, because like Disney World, I went with my family in December in Florida, of course, in Florida, and Disneyland hasn't even been open that long. So it's very different worlds. But nonetheless, California is starting to reopen, a good sign that things are not as bad as they once were. Things are continuing to be open more and more and more. Third on today's list, from the Wall Street Journal, a medical debt charity to buy and wipe out $278 million of patients' hospital bills. Now, while that's good news, those kind of things need context, because yes, So essentially how these things work, you go to a hospital and for whatever reason, your bills don't get paid, they get sold off to third-party creditors for pennies on the dollar, meaning if someone owes $100, a third party might be able to buy that debt for $1, including like contact information, and then collect. So they might pay $5 for $100 of the medical debt, and then use their calling, mailing, whatever they do to get a hold of people to try to recoup that for a profit. So then they say, oh, so here's a common example. You go to the hospital, get your $100 bill, which is not realistic, right? But just for easy math, you get a $100 bill from the hospital, don't pay it, whatever reason, fine. They put it in collections, jacks up your credit, they put that as an unpaid bill, they send it off, they sell it. So the hospitals now, they have the $100 debt, which they're not getting paid. They then will sell it to some third party, say for $5, because $5 is better than $0. So then they just say, fine, get rid of it, $5. So some third party company now owns this $100 debt they paid $5 for, knowing they might or might not be able to collect on it. So they call somebody and they say, you have the medical debt from such and such a thing. If you pay us $75 of the $100 you owe, then it's paid. And they might say no, they might negotiate lower, while you get these third-party places. They might eventually settle and say, you pay us $40 out of the $100, we'll make it go away. They had made a gross profit of $35 off of that medical debt they got from the hospital for $100. That's a general idea how these things work. Now, when you cancel medical debt, someone might say, I'm gonna say I find some third-party medical debt and say, let's give $1,000 worth of medical debt relief, which cancels far more debt in reality than that $1,000 because they get it for a whole lot less. Now, while that is good and you can say the debt is off the books and it will no longer go into collections, keep in mind collections and credit are far different things. Not going into collections meaning some judge might not be able to levy a debt against you. They might not call your employer and say, let's take 20% of that person's wages till they pay their debt. That's when you go into collections and deal with judgments and liens and judges. Credit, whole different game. By the time you get to a medical collection place, buying their pennies on the dollar debt, the credit damage is already been done. You've already got an unpaid debt in collections, and that's all your credit cares about. So keep in mind, when these people pay off medical debt, you hear Oprah doing it, or you hear John Oliver did it a couple of years ago, it's good. There's no way around that. It's good because it's going to avoid things like collections. But a lot of damage has already been done and is already said and done and over because the damage to your credit is already said and done. So keep in mind when these things happen. And that was a big tirade rant right there. But let's see if there's anything useful. This is Wall Street Journal article talking about this. So that's a lot of money, right? $278 million of medical debt. Does it say how much they actually had to pay to cancel that much debt? Because you do not pay the whole amount or anything else in here. 200. No, I can't find it right now. But nonetheless, that's good to pay off things like that. But if you ever hear about the medical debt being canceled, it's a great news bite on something like this or something else. Keep in mind the credit damage has already been done. It's the collections, the judge, the liens, the garnishing of wages that can be avoided, which is obviously good, but not. You don't get off scot-free when someone cancels someone else pays your medical debt. You're not off scot-free. The damage has already been done to your credit, which, for better or for worse, reality that plays an impact on a lot of aspects of your life, how your credit is. So if you can pay your medical bills, it would behoove your credit to pay them. 25 years ago, this is from today.com, the Spice Girls hit Wannabe was released. If you are, I'm upper 30s, 38 years old. I remember when Wannabe came out. It was a popular song, super catchy. But that came out 25 years ago today. So anything interesting here in the official Instagram? It's been 25 years of the Spice Girls. There's the Spice Girls and all of us, yeah. But they were a bit of a thing then, right? They kind of took over the world. And you look at it, really what happened with them, it's kind of interesting how they have evolved because they kind of came out of nowhere and dissolved pretty fast as well. But then you had Victoria Beckham, who got involved with David Beckham, that whole deal. You had, I forget which other Spice Girl, but one of them was on, I think, a Judge in America's Got Talent for a while. I think married Eddie Murphy for a while. I think has some of his kids. Eddie Murphy's got lots of kids. So it's hard to keep track of how many kids and who they come from, but he's got a lot. And I believe she is one of the mothers of his many children. So that's interesting, but 25 years ago, I remember when that came out. Does make you feel a little bit dated, but nonetheless, it is there. And the fifth and final topic on today's The Five, Kevin Hart on cancel culture. Now, cancel culture is an interesting thing because I'm a little bit anti-cancel culture, and here's why. I think expecting perfection from anybody is wildly unrealistic. I think we as humans, myself included, make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. And I think that accepting responsibility for mistakes and apologizing for mistakes is one of the hallmarks of being a person, of being human. Acknowledging, showing that you're sorry for something you said or did is a big part of being human. And having to never make a mistake makes it super glad I'm not ever famous, because I think it would be nearly impossible, because someone that just doesn't know something, if you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, you're canceled. And that is the idea of cancel culture. Megyn Kelly, for example, didn't know the history of blackface. And there's a lot of bad stuff along with blackface that's happened historically, but to pretend that everyone knows it is a different unrealistic standard. And because she didn't know it, she was canceled. Just as one random example, there's a lot of racial things. A great PBS documentary on the Reconstruction of the South, which gives good insight into blackface, but probably not everyone has seen that. Cancel culture is what he's talking about here. So a couple of years ago, let's see, Kevin Hart, you all know him as a famous comedian, actor, super hard-working dude. Let's see, in 2018, he had to step down from his plans to host the Academy Awards, the Oscars, essentially because tweets he had posted from 2009 and 2011 resurfaced, which included some derogatory language to gay people and disparaging comments about sexuality. I remember that when he did get canceled, and I don't know what people expect out of this because we all kind of grow and evolve as humans. Here is what he said. He told the Sunday Times, I don't know what Sunday Times it is, but the CNN report. This is Kevin Hart's words. I've been canceled, 3 or 4 times? Never bothered. If you allow it to have an effect on you, it will. He said, personally, that's not how I operate. I understand people are human. Everyone can change. It's like jail. People get locked up so they can be taught a lesson. He's promoting his current Netflix film, Fatherhood debuts next week. And I tend to agree with him. We are all people. We're all learning as we go. Nobody's perfect. And if you expect perfection from yourself or anyone else, you're always going to be let down. You might get good results if you expect perfection from yourself, but you're always going to be let down too. And that plays with your head. So the top 5 on the 5, the only 5 for today, Tyler flying solo. The man in India with 94 children and not to mention 39 wives. Quite a routine that must be. California finally is pretty much reopened after the jacked up stuff of the pandemic that ravaged much of it. Medical debt charity to buy and wipe out $278 million, but don't forget the credit damage has already been done. Wannabe Spice Girls hit 25 years old. Long time, but some of them are still famous. And Kevin Hart on cancel culture understands people are human, and he and I agree on at least that. I don't know what else, never talked to him, but people are human. And the lesson for the day, be nice to each other. Remember that words have impact, but also remember that the person you are now might not be the person you were 5 years ago. And we should all continue to learn, and we all realize that us and others will make mistakes, and try to continue to be accepting and realize that we are all learning as we go. Yourself and others are learning every day to be a better and better human and a better and better person. Didn't expect that today, did you? So that is today's The 5, Tyler flying solo because we're down 3 people at TFE Supplies today. from an appendicitis and a baby being born in the TFD Supplies family, mostly Ben's family, just to be honest. Probably sometime today, Ben's baby's gonna be born. I'm pulling for Tyler Rena's little girl, but probably not gonna name the baby Tyler Rena. Please follow us online everywhere we go. TFD Supplies, this is under the brand TFD Talks for the 5, but if anything TFD Supplies on any social media channel, including the podcasting channel, Spotify, the Google Podcast stuff, Apple Podcasts, all those, we're all over all of this. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, have a fantastic day.